Okie dokie. Merry Christmas, everyone. Happy holidays and all the rest. Today I've got an assortment of things I want to talk about. I want to talk about good arguments and sharing feedback with each other. I want to talk about bad faith and where we get lost in the noise. How it's important to be connected with our ancestry, and then how if we don't make sense of things, we won't be able to have a good shared future together. So I'm going to try and cover all those different topics. I know we're not supposed to have an intro. It turns people off, right? So I'll just keep it going. I'm going to open up the social stream while I talk. I don't know, you might be different than me, but I really love a good argument. If somebody thinks differently than me and they're able to explain it clearly, they're giving me a different perspective. Like it's, they're helping me out by offering a different way of looking at something. And so it's always strange when you meet someone that doesn't welcome different perspectives or doesn't welcome arguments, but it's, it makes sense because maybe they don't like to not be correct about stuff, right? Like people feel threatened if someone challenges the way that they think or talk about something. Hang on just a second. I'm trying to get everything going. And so it's been, as an adult, I was raised in a family where you could argue in good faith and then people wouldn't be personally insulted or taking it in a sour way. And then as an adult, it's really bizarre to encounter people when, maybe you have an argument over something like football or something insignificant, and then they start to twist the knife, like they add extra little daggers or spears, and it's like, okay, this is more than the argument now. Like now you're like picking and prying at me, right? Like it's worth, we have to recognize some people take things too far, right? And I guess we can forgive them for that. They'll just get lost in the noise of what's happening. But I always think when it comes to family, right? Like if it's actually your family, if it's, whether it's your biological or your, found family or whatever it may be, arguments are something that it's like an important process. Like a good therapist, in particular a systems or family therapist, would say an argument or conflict is an opportunity for things to be resolved that maybe haven't had a chance to have air or space to be expressed. This is why I think it's really important if a child brings up something, especially in a big family. If somebody like a younger kid brings up an issue or brings up a perspective, it's not like you have to be completely child focused and stop everything and whatever you want, Timmy. Yeah, absolutely. But this is their time to cross across all different kinds of boundaries and different what would it be, like postures in a family, right? Like a grandchild could tell his grandmother that he's being abused, right? Now, the grandmother in that case could be like, oh, Timmy, Henry would never do that to you. Quit talking about all that silliness, right? And in essence, grandma can play cover for that, but that's her chance to really listen to the kid, right? And so it's not like that's just to say, for a system to function, if there's something messy or bad or kind of unpleasant happening, it's important to have space for that to be expressed. And I think about with arguments, that's more of a friendly area where we can have a disagreement or, share our different thoughts about how we perceive something, or maybe think about how we should, where should we eat for dinner, right? Well, we ate this place last time, right? You can reason with each other and you come to a mutual sense of reality, or maybe you don't, right? Like if it, you could end the argument without any trouble, but in essence, you make sense of reality together, you take away from the argument your own conclusions, and then you go about your life and you're kind of like carrying on. Part of being a functional person is to welcome the influence of others, because that's part of being harmonious, and it's also part of sparing yourself the bad lessons, right? They say, hey, don't put your hand on that stove. Well, who are you to tell me not to put my hand on that stove? If you put your hand on that stove, you're going to regret it. Well, forget you, right? Like there's all kinds of things like that where the argument is to help somebody get to a point of clarity and understanding of the situation. And so throughout all the holiday, like, don't be too worried about arguments and all of that. Like, feel, I don't know, your own sense of patience for these things, but people that love each other argue. I think that that's okay to say, right? Like, I don't know. I think that's kind of sweet. And it's sad if you meet someone where it's like, oh, we're arguing, that means I have to be mean to you, right? It's like, no, like, that's not where you have to start digging and twisting the knife and stuff. Cheers, everyone. Happy holiday. Now, there are people, and I don't know if this is like 50% or, 60 or what, but there are people that don't have any patience for arguments. They're not interested at all. And in essence, unless you agree with them, they're going to have at you, right? And this would be the bad faith section. This is all in the context of the holidays. It's kind of strange because I'm getting to the position of being like a Scrooge and not like a miserly person. I don't really like all the festivities. I don't put up Christmas lights or Halloween decorations or all that, right? Because it's all a construction, right? It's all inflated. We've put up all this stuff, but because everyone's making it into a big deal, it becomes a big deal. And then it's like, oh, he didn't get me anything for Christmas. He didn't call me on Christmas. He must not care about me at all. Like, forget about him. Or, I always think about Valentine's Day as the pressure cooker holiday, but Christmas and New Year's really are taxing, right? Like they stress people out. And so part of what I want to talk around is a grievous holiday. The holiday, all the idols of holiday is an intact family where things are well and good and things are happy and things are okay. What ends up happening with the reality is, with time, people, there's natural things that occur, but whether that's just death or intra-family conflict, right? Like between people within a family, it's sad if like, Aunt Susan doesn't talk to, Grandma Jane or something, things like that. But I guess the more mature people in the families are patient usually and bear those that are like kind of like, spurring conflict or maybe making things more difficult. There's a lot of sad memories though, like unmet expectations, whether that's you failing others or others failing you or just the whole situation being a mess. It's kind of like having a birthday party and it doesn't go well. And you're like, man, I really wanted the thing. And then when the donkey went down the stairs and they were playing the song, it just, and so it gets all set up, right? Bad faith. I think I keep coming back to this idea of bad faith because as a well-meaning, like as a little bunny person, right? I have my bunny ears. I'm just kind of like fluffy-tailed, eating grass, having a nice time. And maybe I'm putting my dangerousness mildly, but it took me a while to realize that some people that are looking me in the eye and saying something and being very persuasive about it, and like I was buying in to them caring about something that they were projecting they cared about to me. It took me a long time as an adult, from a child to an adult, to come to terms with there are people that will just, with so many veiled intentions and presentations, try to swindle you and pull one over and deceive you and rob you and, you know, whatever it may be. And it's not that the entire world is bereft of any morality, but these negative examples stick out so sorely, and it sticks out in a way that leaves a big impression on us. It's very similar negative bias, right? Like with the holidays, we have every single year that you've had a good Christmas, but if you have a few bad Christmases or one bad Christmas, maybe every Christmas after that, you have this like echo. It's smacking the drum again, right? Your grief, your heart is punched every Christmas, right? And that's something that I want to avoid in general. With grief and swindlers, right? There are people that end up in our families that, for whatever it's worth, maybe have swindled people in our family or maybe swindled us, and they may be engaging in our family with bad faith. And what I mean by that is they're like, oh yeah, I want everyone to have a good time, this or that. But really they're like, they have ulterior motives, these weird agendas. Maybe they have, I don't know, people are just so weird and neurotic. And in essence, if you're in a big family, you have to bear each other's humanity, but you have to limit influence. And I think that's the thing about bad faith is if somebody is, you know, kind of like being deceitful and disruptive of relationships, the most important thing to do in those situations is to perceive it clearly. And it may not be appropriate or even strategic to speak words to it, like to describe it or, you know, say anything about what they're doing, like call them out, because that might, like let's say if it's a narcissistic person and this is like a stereotype, I don't know if this is true or not, and so you can take this with a grain of salt or whatever material you wish. They say with a narcissistic person, if they're on the cliff of being like socially injured, like their reputation will be injured and they'll lose face and it's going to look so bad for them, there's this claim that they will be almost like a cornered animal. They'll do the most rabid, aggressive things, right? Is that true? I'm not sure, but I've seen it where, you know, if a person is really committed to the act and they really want to be the good guy, they may end up doing all sorts of objectionable or even completely abhorrent things. And this is something that we're facing now abroad, like beyond our family and our general systems, right, where we may have bad faith actors. In world politics, this is happening all around. We have politicians in our media, bad faith. And it's so strange when the human inclination, right, a gullible person, a person of low IQ, for instance, maybe would be very trustworthy and they would be like, oh, okay. And they would believe whatever they're told because our human instinct, like we're drawn to want to believe what somebody's telling us. Like it's more difficult, it's more painful and negative to operate from the presumption that somebody may not be telling us the truth than to just assume from the get-go, this is going to be a default, generally okay person. I can assume that if they step on my shoe, they'll say, I'm sorry, and not like want to start a fight with me, right? Or there's things like that. Bad faith acting though. So there's how do you engage or respond to it? I think it's important to enforce standards, and that's you model yourself. Like going back to arguments, if you're having an argument and then somebody makes a personal attack, you can it's even funny because without even making it personal back at them, say like, well, please don't insult me, but I still don't think this, but you don't even have to be like like get your teeth out, right? Nobody's getting knives out, guns out, or whatever. And can you believe that there's people that haven't left nightclubs because they get into some stupid argument? Like, it's just stunning to me when it becomes about something else, like something darker. It's strange too. There's this idea of free-floating hostility. It's an important concept. Imagine if there's somebody that has like a really bad day at work and they're like, they just have to eat shit all day, metaphysically, right? Like people are just mean to them and they just have to say, yes, okay, okay. Then they get home and they're just all, barreled up, whatever it may be. And then somebody does something that, is a little bit annoying, but isn't really that bad. They may have a sense of free-floating hostility where they're just kind of like, whoa, like jumpy or snappy, right? It's a strange thing when you're going about your day, like maybe I'm in my car, I honk my horn as a cautionary way to alert someone that they're going to pass lanes over, and then all of a sudden they're rolling their window down and then basically like begging for me to go out and like engage in like a physical fight with them, right? And like I drive like a jerk, okay? I am a jerky driver, I'll own it. But anyone that's going to stop their day to, carry on like that, it's a very strange degree. And so that can maybe help you understand some of this bad faith, or if people bring a bunch of baggage into an argument. There's like, if somebody doesn't make sense, right? That I think that helps out. If you're trying to reason with someone and you just can't get there, it could be that they're in bad faith. Maybe they don't even know it, right? Like maybe it's just like something that they can't help or whatnot, but it could be that they're operating in bad faith and there's no way to communicate or reason with them. You just have to not give deference to whatever they're presenting. Like I think that's the mean thing would be like, oh, slap them or, punch a Nazi, that whole goofiness. But the most important thing is if these people are engaging in bad faith and they're going around and trying to pull things over and swindle others, the most important thing that we can do is not take them seriously. And at that point, they're just like a little clown, like a goofy dog that runs around and yaps. And if we understand you are just a bad faith actor, I don't take you seriously anymore. It's like, it's sad. Like this is what's happened to a lot of people. They tried to assassinate your personality and make it so that no one will trust you again, like your social credit score. But in essence, that's the thing of, if we look at the distribution of humans, what an average human may be, what the exceptional humans may be, good and bad. In general, even monkeys have this thing of like a sense of fairness and propriety. And so once bad faith actors are brought to light, the rest of the people kind of carry on and engage as they do. There's this, it's so crazy. There was this huge settlement, and I don't need to pull up a thing, or you know what, I will. Hold on, we're gonna get fancy. So apparently the federal government, because of a prison in California, just paid out hold on. It's the largest settlement ever made by the federal government. And here, I'll pan this up. Hold on. Can we get it? And then that. So I wasn't planning on reading this, and we really don't have to. You're welcome to go to rbgg.com, and they have this article that discusses what they represented. But in essence, this prison warden that was running a prison with female inmates, this prison warden is now in prison himself because he ran this entire conspiracy, staff sexual assault and harassment at a federal correctional institution. And these women were sentenced for crimes, and they were, they had to serve time. Yeah, see, this is what she said. We weren't sentenced to be assaulted and abused. And it's kind of weird because there's 100 women that were part of this lawsuit. The lawyers will get paid, the women will get paid proportionate to how severely they were affected, right? And so it's really weird. I'm glad that they're doing this work and they're bringing to light these injustices. But the issue in the prison system is once an inmate complains, they would get further punishment, right? Like and so in essence, all the feedback would be repressed. Going back to our family systems, when a child brings up that something's wrong, that, Uncle Larry is doing something, it's important you listen to that child, right? Like that's the time to take the complaint and investigate it seriously. But the old school thing would be like, well, don't say such things about our family, hush, hush, hush. And you cover up for the wrongdoing. The thing that's so disturbing about this lawsuit and all of this is that this is just scratching the surface. This is one federal prison. We have, in America, the largest prison population of many developed countries. And so these are supposed to be correctional facilities of justice, right? And if the people that are running them are creepy correctional officers and wardens, that's no good. There's a thing of, here, hold on. What a mess, right? Happy holidays, though. Selection bias. So who's most likely to work at a clothing store, right? Maybe a girl that likes fashion, right? Who's most likely to be a teacher? Maybe someone that likes children. Who's most likely to be a teacher? Maybe someone that likes children, right? Same thing with all kinds of vocations, but police, like there's selection bias, and people will be drawn to the kinds of work that they are inclined to. And we can question, is that part of their shadow, right? Like our police officers doing that just because they want to twirl the baton and wear a uniform? The truth is, I don't know, I guess they're paid well. I hope that they want to be a police officer, right? But if it's because that they have like a kink and they're driving around in their cruiser with a plug, I'm not down for that, right? Like we don't need that kind of kinkiness. But prison guards, man, just imagine the power trip that they get off on, right? And there was like a news story of prison guards that were planting drugs on inmates, and they were planting drugs on other correctional officers. Like these are the alpha apex predators, the most nasty humans ever. And it's like, I'm so much of a criminal, I decided to be a prison guard or something. Are you serious? Like that's a different degree. So bad faith actors, right? I don't know. I'm struggling with that because I want to love all people and like figure out a way that we can be in harmony with each other. But it's important to see, if you really do encounter someone that's engaging in bad faith, you need to see it clearly and nail it. So that's my bit on bad faith. Changing things a bit. The holidays. So apparently the suicide rates spike up on Christmas and around New Year's and all that. I don't think anyone's surprised. I always thought that the breakup rates were high around January, and then they're high around, May? Like the start of summer is a high breakup rate. But in essence, there's a lot of upheaval around December. It's a winter month, like there's literally less sun in the sky. We spend less time in the sun, and so our bodies Like we might actually have, we might feel like altered and strange. And because of that, we might do things we may not ordinarily do. So be well on this holiday, but it's okay to be sad. Like if you feel a hollowness or emptiness or sorrow about how things are, if Christmas or whatever you celebrate isn't, whatever, like it's okay. Not everyone is whole. Not everyone's picture is finished, right? Like it's part of living to have things and to lose them, to love people, and to have those things become complicated or no longer possible because of physical reasons or otherwise. There's a thing I'll bring up, the hold on. I want to show a video. It's going to be, so first of all, I'll start with Ross. I'll start with Ross. Where is it? So Ross Ulbrich, I went to UTD, and he was an upperclassman of mine and a neighbor when I lived in the apartments there. He was, charged with running the Silk Road and given a double life sentence and sent to federal prison, where he's had to deal with stuff. He had to be in solitary confinement after other inmates targeted him for violence because he refused to engage in violence with them. But since then, he's managed to find his way. At least it seems like it from his posts, but he's been in prison for over 10 years now since they caught him, even though I think it was a wrongful arrest, and there's all kinds of issues with their investigation. But every year, his mom, who's fought for him, leaves a seat at the table open for Ross because where is the Ross picture actually? Oh, it's in oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm spacing on that. Here you go. Make it small. And then so it's really sweet, but it's also, I don't know, it breaks my heart that his mom has to put up an empty chair for him for Thanksgiving and for Christmas, and that they can't spend it together. But how, like I've been emo all day, how wonderful is it that she still fights for him, and she's been pushing for his clemency every single year, and she's carried the torch, and she hasn't lost hope, right? There's something so precious about that with each other. Apparently, and I can only hope it's totally true, Donald Trump has said that he'll pardon Ross within his first day of coming to office. So if all goes well, Ross next year will be with his mom or be wherever he wants to be and doing whatever he wants to do, and not in a prison, not subject to tyranny, not subject to bad faith actors. He'll be with his common here, what's the silly thing for the stream? Common ancestry. His blood. We shouldn't diminish how much our biology connects us to our family. Just think about how their DNA It's not exactly the same, but much of their DNA runs within you as well. And so if you eat something, experience something, if you get mad or irritated, if you laugh at a movie, whatever may happen, there's a portion of you that is very similarly reflexive of whatever portion is in your family, right? And so your blood memory, it's within you. They did this weird study with rabbits, and it's in my brain. It isn't subject and categorized in my brain as like, maybe it's true, maybe it's, bunk social science, but the claim is they had two controls, or a control and experiment. They had a pregnant rabbit that was exposed to an odor, like maybe a scent of rose, and then they were exposed to a snake while it was pregnant, right? And then they had another rabbit that saw the snake without rose, right? And they separated the bunnies from their moms at birth, control and experiment. Apparently, so theoretically, the mother rabbit never taught the baby bunnies, never did this or never did that or anything like that. But maybe the rabbit wasn't pregnant either. Because if it was pregnant, it would be transmitted chemically. I think they weren't. But the whole idea is somehow the association of danger from the snake for the rabbit that was around the rose odor, somehow that got conveyed to the offspring in a way that without any snake, without any other stimuli, they introduced a rose scent. The control group, the rose scent, no increase of stress, no anxiety response, no arousal or anything. The experiment group, where they had the rabbit that had, and this is the claim of a genetic memory, a genetic impression of danger and the rose scent or whatever the odor was. There was some response in the experiment group to that scent. Now, what does that mean, right? Do we have in our blood the memories of our ancestors? Like, is there somebody chucking a spear in my body? Like, there's that impression in my DNA? I'm not sure, but if your relatives and your ancestors went through some really hard times, you can rest assured that you are capable of enduring a lot. Like, it's kind of rough to imagine how many millions of years humans have been around, and how many humans it's taken, with all the danger and all the peril of being alive in the world, to have you exist, your entire human ancestry and lineage. It's like staggering. And so you gotta connect with that, right? Like you have to find your heartship, and then a compassion for yourself and your blood, your relatives, your family. Be kind and patient to each other. See each other's humanity, whatever it may be. And even if you're not alive, or they're not alive, or they're not, if you're not able to see each other, you can still have an experience of that warmth. Like you carry that with you. Maybe you're the last alive person in your family. I mean, that would be very sad, right? If you were the very last one. But if you were, as heavy as that may be, it's very special what you hold in you, all of the sentiments, all of the different stories and feelings and everything that you've had with these different people, the rich experiences that you've had with your family or people that you love. So, of course it could feel like grief, right? But grief is just one side of caring. It's just like one side of a coin. If you love someone a bunch, you'll also grieve a bunch. It's okay to have it be a part of your experience, but it doesn't have to completely envelop you, right? And just like Lynn, I'm sure many a day she's felt despair and hopelessness. I'd like to think that the hope that she's carried will be redeemed when Ross is freed. It's so hard. I haven't called Ross or written him or anything. I wasn't a super close friend. It was more of like an acquaintance, although I think we were very friendly. Ross loved a good argument. He is the kind of guy where like at a college party, he might get a little too flustered and take his shirt off and be running around with like shorts and flip-flops and no shirt, right? Just because he's just like cooking. But he was such a warm, kind person. And so I'm very excited for him to come back. I think, if or when he's free again, we should just be patient and have him, kind of adjust at his own terms of time. And I hope, I'm sure there's plenty of people, he's got plenty to do, right? And plenty to catch up on, but I'm excited for him to come out in a different shade of this. And it's a bit of a downer, but I want to play this video I saw of a guy from the Chinese Cultural Revolution who was one of the many that denounced his parents. And it's something that we should look at because it'll remind us of how we can lose sight in the moment of what really matters. And so I'll just go through it like that. One of the tricky things is he's speaking Chinese, and so I'm going to play it with lower volume, and then I'm going to, just to add content, I will read the captions out loud. So let's see how that goes, right? Here we go.
这里就是母亲的墓
Here's
地。
my mother's grave.
Zhang Hongbing's mother lies meters from the spot where she was executed in the Cultural Revolution. The years of upheaval and destruction Mao unleashed claimed perhaps 1 million lives. Even so, Fang Zhongmo's case stands out. It was her zealous teenage son who denounced her as a counter-revolutionary.
在文革中间，
During the Cultural Revolution, there was a song
爹亲
called
娘亲
Father
不如
and
毛主
Mother.
席亲。这首歌是这样的：天大地大，不如党的恩情大；爹亲娘亲，不如毛主席亲。千好万好，不如社会主义好；河神海神。 这个相册是我家里
This is my family album. This is a photo of my
是我们的
family.
全家福。这是我
This is
的
my
母亲
mother.
但是到了
But when the Cultural Revolution happened,
关系，特别是我母亲
and
的案件
especially
发
on the
生的
night
当
of my
天晚
mother's
上，
case,
这种
this
亲
kind
情
of
就
family
完全
affection vanished
变成
entirely.
了一个
It became a bloody
血淋
relationship
淋的
between
阶级
classes.
关系。
When Mao's Cultural Revolution convulsed the country in 1966, Zhang's family embraced it. His parents had first met after enlisting in the revolutionary cause. Neither that nor their initial enthusiasm would help them.
我母亲因为她的家
Because of
族
my
成
mother's
分
family
她
background
父亲
and her father
为
being
了
a so-called counter-revolutionary,
而被当作地
she
主
was
分子
suspected of
革命
belonging
党受
to
嫌疑
the landlord class and being a nationalist agent.
长达2
She was
年之久
isolated and investigated for 2 years.
One night, the teenager thought his mother spoke of Mao disrespectfully. In the furious row that broke out, she called for the return of purged leaders and attacked Mao for creating a personality cult.
我们就
We
对她
started
进
to
行批判
denounce
斗争
her,
但是母亲
but my mother disagreed.
她
She took down Chairman Mao's
家
image
庭里面挂着的毛泽东画像
from the wall and burned it.
撕下来烧毁。哎，在这中间，
My father and I went to the
先
police,
后到公检法
prosecutor, and
报案。
court to report her.
母亲
Mother didn't have a defense
没有
lawyer.
辩护律师，在不到2个月的时间，
Less than 2 months later, she was
定
convicted
为反革命罪。
of counter-revolution and shot.
经过
After
43
43 years of
年的反思，
reflection,
我现在认识
I
到
realized I was
自己当
mistaken
年
back
做
then.
错了。我现在
Now I must
应该向
apologize to
母
my
亲道
mother
歉，并且应该
and
向母亲
express
忏悔。
repentance.
我认为
I think the Cultural
文革
Revolution
是一
is
场 导致中华民
a
族劫难的浩劫。
catastrophe that the Chinese nation
应
suffered.
该记
We
住
must
这个
remember this
惨痛
painful
的历史
historical
教训，
lesson
绝不能让它
and never let it
重演。
happen again. The strangest thing about his story is if his father and himself, if they didn't denounce their mom and have her arrested and shot, he wouldn't even be alive to tell that story to the Guardian. We wouldn't see his face, we wouldn't hear his voice, any of that. But just imagine how many people in that circumstance during, that upheaval, and in other times in history where we've lost people needlessly because we've succumbed to the bad faith of others and other people. Like, in essence, we lost the plot of looking after each other and looking after our family and the people we love. These days, money has a lot of families turning against each other. Like, there's siblings that are fighting over inheritances, or I don't know, ugly divorces where the kids are used as like a totem or like a trophy. All kinds of trouble. So if they didn't turn her in, they wouldn't have lived, right? So you'd say, oh, well, so they had to turn her in. Well, no. Because if the other families, the only way it would work out is if all the other families also succumbed to the social pressure and everyone, turned on themselves. If people didn't succumb to the bad faith actors and didn't fall prey to the social influence and the agendas or whatever it may be, if they stayed connected to their family and to their core, they could have said, no, you're not going to take my mother and put her in jail for 2 years because of something her father did, right? Like, we won't accept you carrying on like this. We have a different standard. But because they didn't have that, or they weren't in touch with it, they were marching to other orders. So this is where the shared future comes in, right? Like, common ancestry. So good faith, good arguments, bad faith, common ancestry, shared future. Even if we're not ancestors, you and I, or whomever may be listening, we still have this planet. We still have the future together. And whether or not we like it, there is a interconnectedness with our modern globalized world that we can't escape from. So socially, relationally, systematically, we must make well with each other. We can't be throwing each other into prisons over bullshit or, things that are made up. We can't be abusing each other and, all these awful things. We need to listen to when people report and complain about bad faith action, right? Like, if somebody says, hey, something's going on, we need to make sure that person's listened to and we're able to, we need to respond meaningfully to that rather than punish them and make them, in essence, like, teach them to be quiet. And I don't think it's beyond us to do better and, with what we have. We've seen how bad we can be, right? Like, we have human history. We have any sort of recent, tragedies. I had to explain, and maybe, I don't know if it's appropriate, but I had to explain to my son this, like, the German guy that drove around, not a German guy, right? But he was like an Arab that drove through a Christmas market in Germany, right? And he was politically all over the place, but basically I was explaining to my kid there are some people that for some reason have just swallowed all of the bad ideas to the point where they think like they can't make sense of how to proceed, and they think that driving a car down a market street is the appropriate use of action. It's so bizarre. So we must see, like I think of signaling. If the best signal is a negative signal, that will win. And if it's about fear and hate and conflict and, you know, blood and spit, all of that, then okay, that'll win, right? If we're able to make it sexier, more attractive, more exciting, more fun, you know, we need to signal there's a better way to live, and you don't have to keep on chopping each other up or doing this and that. And so that's where I'm excited, because there's so much opportunity to create new social technology, new religious technology, new religions like CONSCION and things like that, that can motivate people to be better and have a positive future. But it's a matter of collaborative effort, right? We have to come together and innovate. One thing that is a bit of a trouble is that the corporations want to get in the middle of it. Will sell you the solution. Your nirvana has a subscription fee, right? Like and fuck that. Like I'm not into that. And so I would much rather it be a decentralized, people supporting each other. That's kind of like a community-based kind of like church, similar to that. It's really amazing because you can learn so quickly now, like humans with a shared knowledge of the internet and distributed networking, you're able to learn things so fast. And so people can specialize very quickly. You can send out kits with instructions. You'll be able, like pretty soon we'll have unlimited power. We'll be able to do efficient farming. We'll solve for most of the human problems. And the big issue will be, okay, now we have too much time and energy. Like, what are we going to do with all of that? And so to me, I look at it like a Renaissance age, like it's a chance of a lot of art, a lot of wonderful things and promise and invention. But if it's not guided by a cultural maturity, it will become destructive. If it's like degeneracy, immoral, selfish, all based on, you know, dog eat dog and things like that, we won't ever get to the Renaissance, because it'll lead to societal decay and collapse, corruption. Right now we're dealing with the corruption of the war industry in America that makes it impossible for us to, I won't carry on, but anyways. So, a shared future. There's also something tender about, you know, we want to know what the future looks like. And I invite you to imagine a future that looks good or looks well, and to try to create that yourself, whatever that may be in your sense of things. But it's okay to not know what the future may be, and then to proceed on instinct. And if what you're doing makes you feel well, and you feel like, okay, like there's some validation, there's some like, I'm nourished by this activity, that's probably a good sign. It's you know, you should carry it on, right? Like there's something to that. And I think we can be guided by those things of trying to be constructive toward a future, even if we don't know exactly what that may look like. And it's good to keep yourself open to possibility. You never know when there's new options. Like apparently, and I'm very wary of aggrandizing him too much, but Elon Musk thinks that we're going to be doing, you know, within 10 years, less than 10 years, we're going to have people living on Mars. So that's everyone's lifetime here, right? Like we will have, you know, spaceships to Mars, and that'll just be a thing. And if you want to go live on Mars, I guess you can go be a contractor there. And that, it'll be interesting. We'll have to figure that out. But if that really is where we're going, like this is the wonder of technology, is if we apply technology and if we do it in a way that is beneficent toward our planet, toward our humans, toward just like keeping the world in a good shape, all of that stuff, like we can do a lot of wonderful things. I have confidence and trust in. So I hope you share that with me, and I hope you feel good about the new year, despite all that sadness about the Cultural Revolution and stuff. Now I have a fun video. I have to make sure I can dig it up. Come on. This song came out like 6 years ago called Neighborhood Dope Man, and I just love it so much. It's basically like Santa Claus, if you think about it. Like, who's Santa Claus? Santa Claus burglarizes your home, steals cookies, and leaves presents, right? Like, are you serious? And so the Neighborhood Dope Man, hold on. I have to figure out where this target goes. The Neighborhood Dope Man is the guy that gives dope to everybody if they need to get drugs, right? And, where are you, Neighborhood Dope Man? Come on. Oh, there it is. No. Here, bear with me for a second. Oh, no way. All right, we're on it. So what's the dope man, right? You'd think about a drug dealer is associated with crime and all of that, but if you're living in a place where let's say if the cops are racist and all of that, the dope man is actually a figure of security in your community, right? Like he's the dope man because he has safe drugs. He assumes the risk, right? Like a dope man is, by selling illegal drugs, you are basically the highest, assuming the most risk and then benefiting the most, right, from the money, because you're selling it and you're making profit, and that's the trade-off. But the dope man is there almost like a superhero for the community to shield them from consequences, whether that is the consequences of the illegal drugs or the consequences of bad things in reality, like, oh, I lost my job or somebody robbed me. Oh, I need help to pay for my surgery. Oh, the dope man got you. He'll throw down, he'll throw down 2 bars or something, right? Who knows? Is that really the case? No, right? Like a lot of drug dealers are vicious people. The cocaine trade is known for violence, all of that. And so, we shouldn't glamorize it. But I think it's really funny to think about how they're like, they make it rain, they make it fun. And so this is the Neighborhood Dope Man. You can think about it as Hood Santa, without me being racist calling it Hood Santa, right? And yeah, thank you for joining and all of that. Well wishes. I don't think I'll stream. I don't know if I'll stream before the end of the new year, but I guess we'll figure it out. It actually didn't download. All right, hold on. $40? I hope you have a good argument with someone and they teach you something you didn't know. That would be fun, right? All right, here we go. I hope it doesn't blow you up. We'll see.
Boy, the guy ain't shit. Boy, the guy ain't shit. Hey, I feel you, don't mind. I'm from the south side, like, coming up, I stay niggas like, they like go to school, I'm like, shit, me? I wanna be like you. Miss Neighborhood don't mind. Neighborhood don't mind. Supplying everybody, man. Neighborhood don't mind. Take care of everybody. Neighborhood don't mind. Neighborhood don't mind. I came up over you, man. Going to school, seeing you, man. Neighborhood don't mind. Supplying everybody, man. Hoping everything change. Way the boy showed up. Neighborhood don't mind. Neighborhood don't mind. Supplying everybody. Neighborhood don't mind. Take care of everybody. Neighborhood don't mind. Neighborhood don't mind. Serving all that cocaine. Ice cream truck, man. Kids go to the ice cream truck. They see the dope, man. Let them daughters put them up, yeah. Gotta take care of everybody. When that work drop, gotta take care of everybody. Gotta feed everybody. Got to play everybody. South side to the winter road, near the road, shorty, yeah. So much pressure on your shoulder. So much weight up on shoulder. Do all the back at composure. Cause you a soldier. Neighborhood don't mind. Neighborhood don't mind. Supplying everybody, man. Neighborhood don't mind. Take care of everybody. Neighborhood don't mind. Neighborhood don't mind. I came up over you, man. Going to school, seeing you, man. Neighborhood don't mind. Supplying everybody, man. Hoping everything change. Way the boy showed up. Neighborhood don't mind. Neighborhood don't mind. Supplying everybody. Neighborhood don't mind. Take care of everybody. Neighborhood don't mind.
Neighborhood dope, man. 23 for a P, you can't get for the low, man. Turn a 2 to a 4, man. It's some shit going on that nobody else know, man. They told us don't go on them buildings, abounded with bricks and a couch full of millions. A lot of cold windows right down on the vista. Who else gon' find us a way out the trenches? They said I wouldn't listen, yeah. I had to clear my vision, yeah. A couple fun niggas were missing, yeah. Talking too much and not listening, yeah. Mama try to take me away, I won't listen. I had them double drinks all in my vision. You could get killed for not paying attention. The road to the riches, bring light of their wishes. Every day I gotta stay with my pipe. Got shots at night, couldn't sleep at night. Mr. Dope Man gon' make it alright. Put a price on his head, leave a nigga at the light. When you talking about the dope, man, would you know, man? Everything gotta go, I ain't never been no hoe, man. And we still pulling foes. It feels about that bread, we gon' kick in this door. We ain't letting up until one of us score. The face at the spot, we be gone by the morning. Know that we on it, know that we be on it.
Miss Neighborhood don't mind. Neighborhood don't mind. Supplying everybody, man. Neighborhood don't mind. Take care of everybody. Neighborhood don't mind. Neighborhood don't mind. I came up over you, man. Go to school, seeing you, man. Neighborhood don't mind. Supplying everybody, man. Hoping everything change. Way the boy showed up. Neighborhood don't mind. Neighborhood don't mind. Supplying everybody. Neighborhood don't mind. Take care of everybody. Neighborhood don't mind.
All right, y'all. Until next time, peace.